In this session we want to look at the concept of site modifiers. Now we created a site model earlier, but if you have a look at the site model we created earlier, there's no modification, so we haven't cut out the ground for our houses, for example. So first of all I'd like to cover the concept of site modifiers, and then we'd like to create an actual site modifier for our project. The simple idea of thinking of site modifiers is to think of the two main parts of a site modifier. First of all, there's a 3D object which tells Vectorworks to change the site. This object is either a pad or a contour or something like that, but it's called a site modifier and it's a 3D part. If we have a look here, we've got a tool for site modifiers and we've got the ability to create a contour or to create a pad or a pad with retaining edge. Now we've previously created a texture bed. That's one of the site modifiers we can create. I'm going to start off by doing the contour mode. We may need to update our site model just to make sure it's all up to date. So let's look at the contour mode. I'm going to draw a contour using my Bezier. I'm going to start here. I'm going to click there, click there, click there, click there, and then come back to my 45-meter contour line. Now that is my site modifier. That should be at 45 meters, so 45M, and now I'm going to update my site model. So right click on my site model, update, and you can see that what's happening here is that that contour is affecting all the contours, all the other contours right up to this point. So what we need is we need something in Vectorworks that will limit the amount of change to our site. It's called a grade limits, and it's this mode here. So if I start here and I create a grade limit which is quite close to my contour, what we should find is that it creates a steep change in our contour through there. So let's go back to there. We have to make sure that that grade limit totally encloses our contour. So I'm going to double click on that object there, that site modifier, double click on it, and if I'm having trouble doing that, then go straight to your reshape tool. Let's look at this mode here. I need to add an additional point out here somewhere so that that contour is totally enclosed inside this blue grade limits. Let's update our site model. So right click, update, and you'll see now that there's a big flat area through here and that there's quite a steep area through here. Let's just change our view and you can see there it is. So now that I've made my grade limits quite close to my contour, in order to achieve that, Vectorworks has to put a steep slope through here. The closer I get the grade limits to my pad or to my site modifier, the steeper that's going to become. If I double click on that again and I start to pull these closer or further away, so further away it makes that shallow. Grab hold of that one, further away. So that's going to be a shallow curve. Let's update our site model. And you can see the contours have moved further apart. So let's move that closer. So double click on the edge of that. Let's move that one very close. Let's move this one closer. And we'll see if we can't move this one very close. So it pays you to zoom in so you can see this more easily. So that should be quite steep just through that area. Let's update our site model again. Let's turn our view round and we should see quite a steep, almost like a retaining wall through there. So that's the basic strategy. We've got a pad and we've got a grade limits. So that's our contour. So let's just select that contour. Keep selecting our site model. And if you're having trouble selecting your site modifier, J-click. So J-click will pick up everything that you're close to. We want to choose the site modifier and we want to delete that. And I'll delete that as well. So this time what I'm going to do is to draw a polygon. So starting around about here, back to there, back to there, back to there, and there. So that is a site modifier. Vectorworks has made it a grade limits. I want to change that to a pad. So even if you make a site modifier and you've got it the wrong way around, you can change it by going to the Object Info palette and giving it the correct type that you want. So that elevation should be 45 meters. Let's right click again, let's update our site model, and you can see it's got a knock-on effect all the way up to our 46 meter line. What can we do? Well, one of the easy solutions is to use your offset tool. Offset this by a specific amount. Let's make it about 4 feet. And we've got our site modifier not selected yet, so we need to select it. There it is, offset tool, click, and there's our offset. Now it's still a pad object, but we can change that to a grade limits. Let's update our site model, and you can see the changes. We've got quite a steep edge going around there. Now you'll notice that because of the elevation that I gave that site modifier, Vectorworks has to bring that earth from here down, and then it goes across. If we go back to our plan view and we edit the site modifier, so we can pull that out this way, and I'm going to get rid of that handle there and get rid of that one. So I just got fewer handles, so I should be able to grab hold of that and pull that out. Now let's update our site model. And so you notice now my 45 meter contour line comes right in, follows around that curve, and so we should have removed that little depression that was there. So we've ended up with a flat area through here now. So back to a plan view. So that's the basic concept. We can put more than one site modifier inside a grade limits if we want. So if you've got several site modifiers that you want to do, like a series of steps, then you can put in the series of steps as several pads. The pads are not allowed to touch, they're not allowed to overlap. It's one of the things. Let's update this. So we could put pads underneath our house to flatten out our house, or to flatten out the site underneath that. And it's a simple matter of getting your site modifier tool, trace around the house. The other sort of site modifier I want to look at is the road tool. Now there's a T road, a straight road, a NURBS road, and a roadway curve. I'm only going to use these two though. These two are my favorite roads. They're the easiest. You can generate nearly all of your requirements with these two. So let's start with a simple concept. We'll start with this one here, which is the polygon road tool. I'm going to start here at 40 meters. We're going to come up here. We're going to turn the corner, we're going to go all the way up here, and we're going to stop at 46 meters. So what's our road? There's our road width, 3 meters, our paving thickness, 80 millimeters, our curb width, 80 millimeters, and our curb height, also 80. Or if you don't want to see the curb at all, make it very thin. We want to see the stations, and we're going to create a pad, so it's going to actually affect our site, and we want to create a grade limits. And so there it is. There's our road here. Our road is going to create the pad, the three-dimensional part, and the outside is going to have its own grade limits. So what happens when we update our site model? It's going to say, for example, well, your road is all at 0. Do you want to update your site model settings? But what I'd like to do is I'd like to send the stations to the surface of the site model. Now once we've done that, we should see our road sitting on the site. So you notice that it's got a bit of a curve here, and then it climbs up the site. Now you might be thinking that this is not a very nice road because of the angles on it. I agree. Let's go back to our reshape tool. Let's choose our arc reshape tool, and let's set a radius of around about 12 meters. If I click on that corner, and then I click on this corner, I've now put in very nice curves to my road. Let's update our site model. So right click, update, and you'll see that the contours have now been modified to suit that road. Now the road has a steep part here, and then it flattens out. One of the nice things about this road is that you can tell the road to align stations vertically. So it creates a constant slope from point 1 to point 21. If we make that point 2 from here, so it's a constant from there all the way up, you'll see that it changes the percent grade. So 3, Change the percent grade again. So let's go back to 1. We're going to create a constant grade, and it's changed my road, so it's actually put this part here underground a little bit, and then it arrives at the right height. So let's update our site model, and you'll see the contours have changed dramatically. So now this contour line goes all the way down to here. This one's gotten a lot further, that one further again, and then it starts to get back to the way it was before. So let's change that to a 3D view and have a look, and you'll see at the beginning of the road, in order to maintain that constant slope, we've had to excavate more land out of the bottom of the road, and then it gradually tails off until it gets to the top. So that's our polygon roadway. So we could use that roadway to draw a road through here. Now I realize this building's a bit wide, and we're going to need to pull that edge back to allow room for our road. So back to our polygon road tool, we're going to start here, point, we're going to come up here, we want to be parallel to this, so we should be able to use our snaps to create a parallel offset for that. Let's have a look at our snaps. Snapping palette, we're going to snap to distance, that's this one here, our smart edge, and we're going to set our road about 1700 off the edge of my boundary. So I should be able to go back to my road tool, touch this edge here, hit the T key, gives me an offset. So now I'm 1700 millimeters from the edge of that site. So up to here, click, and we're going to go into our driveway and double click to finish. So again, you might look at it and think, well, it's not that neat. What we need to do is to round off the edges. So let's go back to our reshape tool. We're going to curve off that edge. We're going to make it a 6 meter radius and click there. So it makes a nice road. We can always extend this road, don't forget. Just with our reshape tool, we can grab hold of the end of that road there with the correct mode, bring that down to touches the boundary. We want to then move this corner here, and we can move this corner as well. And when you're moving these corners around, it might be easier if you put your finger on the B key so you can see where you want your road to end up. Well, that's all very well for the first road, but it doesn't help our second road. But again, what we can do is we can send stations to the surface, we can align stations vertically, and then we can update our site model and have a quick look. So right click, update our site model, and we should see that our site has been excavated to suit that road. Back to a plan view, and I'm going to delete that road, because what we really want is we want a road that'll come into this area here, come into that area there, and have a parking area at the end here. We have a tool that will do that. It's called the custom curb tool. The way the custom curb tool works is it starts with a straight road. So we find a position here. Don't forget we can also use our snap offset edge, and I'm just going to change that. I'm going to make it a little bit wider than that, make it 1900. So touch the edge of our boundary, hit the T key, that gives us our offset, and we want to be offset there, up here, T key again, there's our edge, and we want to finish our road about here somewhere. So how wide is it? What's our curb height? What's our curb width? Remember we did 80 wide, 80, paving thickness is 80, curb height, curb width. Let's make that 1 millimeter, so that way we won't see the curb. If you want to see the curb, make it wider. And we're going to use site modifiers, and we're going to create our grade limits. So there's our custom curb roadway. We can send that to the surface, AC, terrain, send to surface. And that'll send that to the surface of our model, but it's a flat road. So it's not sloping at the moment. Back to a top plan view. We need to know the height here so that we can create a slope to our road. Stake object. Let's change that to set elevation to site model and click at the end of the road. So we've now got a height at the end of the road, we know what the start of this road is. It's that height there. And we have a rise. So 44,598. And now subtract this distance here. 42,476. Enter. So that gives us our rise. Let's update our site model. Let's have a look at this in 3D, and it should be pretty close to sitting on the site model, and it's a constant rise from beginning to end. Back to a plan view. I'm having trouble seeing where I want my parking to go here with this viewport, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the roof, the floor, and maybe I'll just leave that floor. That makes it easy for me to see where my car park's going to end up. I should have selected both and done it together, but it's alright, I'll just do it that way. So now I can see where I want those to end up. Maybe if I use my rectangle tool, I can draw a rectangle from here to there, stretch that out and make sure it goes over my road. So again here we're going to zoom in, so from that corner to that corner, out here, there it is there. Now maybe the road actually does follow this little bit as well, so let's just make sure we put that little bit in, and the same thing here. So I've now got some parts. Let's have a look at those two parts. Let's right click and we'll add those together. These two, we can add those together. But what we could have done was just select everything and the road and added everything together, because now I've got my road calling into each of my houses. Let's go back to our reshape tool and have a look. So what I can do is I can change that curve. So here I want a 6 meter radius there, I want it there, I want it there, I want a curve there as well. And since I've got my reshape tool, what I should be able to do is move an edge or move a point. So I can grab hold of that corner and pull that down here to make a sort of a parking area. Now you might notice it's a bit of a problem here because I've got steps to go up. So let's just undo some of those parts. Let's put in another rectangle or a polygon. So I can put in a rectangle if I want from this corner to there. I want it to come to about there. And then I can just select those, right click, add surface, and it just adds my road together. At this end I don't have a curb. So if I go back to my reshape tool, I can add or subtract the curbs. So that's got a curb on that end. Let's take away the curb at that end and take away the curb at that end. So it becomes quite a flexible road. You can move it, you can make curves to it, and all of this is occurring in 3D as well. Remember, on these two buildings I turned off the foundation, so let's turn those back on. Why don't we turn on the other floors as well? So there's my parking area. I've now got a garden area. I need some stairs, and that's the main part of my building starting to come together. If we go back to our drawing for our site plan, make sure you've turned on the classes for these curbs and for the roadways. So let's select both of those. Let's look at our classes. What classes are turned off? We might want to see the shutters, we might not. Do we want to see the roof? We want to see the doors. We've got some site pavings here, we need to see those. We don't need to see the slabs so much. I've got some classes on my columns, we need to see those. And OK, now we can update those views. Now you might notice my view's kind of fuzzy at this scale. The reason for that is that my sheet layer here, particularly this DPI, is set to 72. When we make it 300 and then update those views, it takes longer to update because there's more information it has to process, but they look much better. So now you can start to see the detail of my building. Now we can see our site and we've got our modifiers in place. You can see that clearly we need to put a stair going up here. We need to put a column to support that wall. Now that we've finished our site modifiers and we've got our roads in, you can clearly see that we need some stairs to go up to our front door. Maybe it'd be a good idea to put a little wall here and maybe a column to support that one. Let's go back to our site model layer. We need some information. Back to a plan view. We know, for example, that this particular house is sitting at a level of 43.5 meters. If we place a stake object just out here, where we know our stairs are going to be, we can see we're at 43,625. So in other words, there's 125 millimeters difference in height. So our downstairs is 1200. We need to take off 125 from that. Let's go back to our floor 2. So floor 2 is going to have a stair. We're going to put the stair just in here. And we don't really want to see the other layers just at the moment. Maybe we need to put our wall in. So let's Control Alt or Command Option if you like. And we need to draw a bit of a wall here. And that wall needs to pretty well line up with that part and come down. And we don't know how far it needs to come down, probably to the end of the stairs. We need to know how wide that is because that's going to be our stair width. So 1970. And now we can put in our stair. So let's have a look at our stair tool. The stair tool has lots of settings in it. And we need to choose a stair configuration that's going to suit us. A straight stair will be fine. So maybe we'll use this for the stair upstairs. But for the downstairs, let's have a look. We just need a very simple stair. Circular stair, maybe just a straight stair. And it's going to re-import a whole lot of textures for us. And there's our simple stair. My construction, I want the lower floor thickness to be 0. That'll get my stair to stop onto the ground. It's going to be a concrete stair. Let's have a look. So by value, it's 1200 millimeters, remember, from the ground up, less 125. The tread, let's make it over 300 so that it's a nice generous stair. And the riser height, let's make that a little bit shallower, 160 maybe for the maximum riser height, so that it's a gentle stair going up. The stair width was 1970. There we are. So let's have a look at our geometry. We're not going to change too much of this, except we will put our top tread on, and we're going to give this a distance of maybe 4 feet, 1200 millimeters, so that it's a lovely, gentle landing at the top, so that we can greet people, or so that people have got room to knock on the door. They don't just have to stand on the top step. What about our 2D graphics? Well, in this particular stair, we're just going to have the stair displayed. There's no other information we need, but we might want to turn on our stair data and show the number of risers. Our construction we've looked at, our railings, and we have 2 sets of railings here. We have a handrail and we have a guardrail. So guardrail, no, let's turn off the guardrail so there's no guardrail. Now the handrail, we can say that we want to see it both sides. Or we could say, no, we don't want to see it both sides. On the right side, no handrail. On the left side, show the handrail. And there it is there. It's 900 above. It's rectangular, or we can make it round. And we want to offset it from the side of the stair. So just here, we need to have an offset enough for putting our hand in. So maybe 60 millimeters or 50 millimeters. So we can go through all of our settings, click OK, and now we can place our stair. So it always places it from the bottom of the stair. So I'm going to double click to place that to start with, and then I'm going to just drag that in so it fits into there, and let's send that to the back. We don't need that dimension anymore. There's our wall. Let's make that wall come down to that stair. And if we have a look at the wall, it would be really nice if we put something on the end of that stair. Let's just move it to there. Got in the wrong position, I really want it there, and I just held down my shift key to stop the wall wobbling around. Now it'd be really nice if we could return the plaster around there. That's what this will do. So click there, and the plaster returns around the end. So what next? Let's have a look at that in 3D. We might find that that wall's too high. Double click on it, grab hold of that handle, pull it down so it lines with the handrail on the other side maybe. Both of these are too high, so let's move those, and we can move them in 3D. Modify, move 3D, so minus 1200 plus 125. And so now I've got that finishing pretty close to the top of my floor. There we are. So it's just a little step up. It'll be perfect. I might just reverse the sides of that wall. So I've got that lining up with that. And I've got the darker color on the inside. So that does one of my stairs. Now I need to put a stair inside here. What kind of stair do I need? Well, this time we need a more complex stair because we want to come up, we want to turn round. So let's have a look to see what we've got. Back to our general, and let's have a look at a stair. Do we want a U stair, or should we just select a standard configuration and see if we can find a stair that'll do most of what we want? Maybe this one with winders that go up. Okay. And we might choose our layer elevation for this. So we can click here and we can say, okay, bottom is going to be our layer elevation, and the top bound is the finished floor of the story above. So that'll take it from our floor 2 up to our floor 3, no offset, and okay. So now it's going to calculate how many stairs we need. If we click OK, then we can try to place our stair in, and you'll see just how big our stair is now. So we'll notice that at this point we could perhaps put that stair here, drag that into the corner, but now you'll notice that in order to get that stair to go up, we need to move this wall down. So we're going to have to do a bit of moving. So we could grab hold of that, pull that down to there, but you notice because I had that wall joined, it didn't like to move it. So let's just move that wall to there, and then I can drag that wall down, touch that point. And there's another wall under here. So let's hold down the B key, maybe will allow us to grab that wall and pull that wall down. And we're just going to drag that up till it touches the stair. You notice I've broken some of my links. So now I just need to rejoin my walls. So that wall joins to there, that one to there. And my foundations also need to be updated. So we'll have to look at those. So the face of that wall comes out to the face of that wall. The center of that wall goes to the center of that part. And back to the upstairs. So that's one way of doing it. There are lots of choices you can make with that stair. You can do all kinds of things. You can change lengths. That stair fits reasonably well, all except for that door, which should go in there. But what we don't know is maybe that door will be okay. Let's have a look at the stair. If we go back to our stair settings, this is a stair that's going from downstairs to the upstairs bedrooms. So maybe what we can do with this stair is change the width. 900 is not too bad. Maybe we can get away with 850 if we don't mind a skinny stair. Maybe we can make our tread depth narrower. So we can make it 260 millimeters. And each of these changes will have an effect. I think that's a little bit steep, so let's make that 180. And there it is. So all of these changes do have an effect. Let's go back to our construction. And I always put the lower floor at 0 so that the stair sits on the floor. So now you can see it's changed a little bit. It's a little bit longer. It's moved ever so slightly. Maybe what we need to have is a little bit more room here, so we could bring that door that way, and there's enough room for an extra tread at the bottom. So let's edit that stair again. And let's look at the geometry. So there's total 18 rises. Just here I've got 2. I really want 3 at that point. There's nowhere else to change this because of the way we drew the stair, or the way we chose the stair. But what we could do is we could look at side 1. Let's add 260 to that, which should give us an extra tread at the bottom. So you can see I've got an extra tread at the bottom now. Maybe I can take some of the treads off here. But it's a design decision. We need to keep playing with that until we get the stair we want. So let's get that stair put in the corner. Now we don't know whether we've got enough headroom to get through this door. How about if we go to a three-dimensional view and we'll activate our clip cube. Now the clip cube does put this three-dimensional cube around our object. So now what we can do is we can have a look to see how our stair relates to that door, and you can see clearly there just isn't enough headroom there. So that door isn't going to work there. We're going to have to move that door somewhere else. So there we are. So that's got our stairs in. We may have created a whole lot of classes, so go back to your site plan, check those, and check to make sure that those stairs appear here. Click on classes. You might find that there are some vertical transport classes that we're not using. So when we think we've got our stair pretty well okay, let's just have a look at stairs on the None class. Let's have a look at our settings and just check to make sure it's not using any classes that you don't want. So for example, under 2D graphics, we're going to check that. Under graphic attributes, you could check that and make sure that those are using the correct classes. We've looked at railings for the other stair, but for the 2D graphics, one of the things we haven't looked at is displaying this on the upper floor. So floor 3 is our upper floor. What do we want to see? We want to see the entire stair maybe. The plane stair. This stair here, we might want to change the brake elevation to something like 2 meters. So the brake line goes through there, and we could put in the angle as 40 degrees. And so what we will have here is a brake, but I don't want to see anything above, so below brake only. And we want that to be 40 degrees or 20 degrees maybe, because we really want that to be on an angle if we can. Let's click OK. Check to make sure that stair's on the correct class. What about this stair here? It's on the None class. And let's deactivate our clip cube. So that's got that stair, that's the other stair. Let's go back to our site plan and let's update our viewports. So just update these viewports and see if we get our stairs. There they are. We've got our stair here, got a stair there. You notice the upstairs needs a little bit of modification as well. And we've got our stairs here. You might notice that we're seeing everything here. Maybe we don't want to see that. The problem is I've turned off my roof class. I'll turn that back on, and that's what I should see. Just check this to make sure that we've got everything in the correct way. That's our wall there. Let's go back to our site model layer. Because what we can sometimes do with these viewports is have them back to front with our layer structure. So for example, we want the roof at the top, then we want the floor. That looks fine. It will be a good idea to make sure that this stair is on a class, something like vertical transport. Or you can just call it stairs. We really want to be able to control when that class turns on or off. Let's go to the upstairs plan and check to make sure that's on the stairs main class, so that when we go back to something like our site plan, if we do see our stairs, we can turn them off. Here we need to turn our stairs on. So let's select both those viewports and we'll turn their class on. So remember we called it stair main. Okay, so now we can see our stairs. So the upstairs does need revising to take account of the stair. Maybe what we need to do is to change it so that we take out some of the treads that are here on that part of the stair and we add them to the top flight.